what's up? It's Todd, and today I want to talk to you about two topics that may seem unrelated, but they're very closely linked. The first is when to leave a bad relationship, and the second is how to deal with a breakup without being devastated and how to get back on your feet. And you can kind of look at this as sort of like the yin and the yang of breaking up. One is when you're leaving, the other is if you get left, so to speak. All right? So first off, how to know when it's time to leave a bad relationship. Well, let's look at what a relationship is. Basically, a relationship is a shared history and a shared story that you have with someone else. Maybe even a shared sort of like contract or set of expectations. But the whole idea here is that it's history. It's something that has occurred in the past that is sort of affecting the present or affecting your idea of the present. There's a narrative there. And that's the funny thing, and that's what makes it hard to leave. See, you get into a relationship and it's probably good, and that's why you stay in it, right? And then at a certain point it deteriorates, or maybe you grow, she grows, something like that happens, and it's no longer good. But it's so hard to leave because you're clinging to that time when it was good. You're clinging to that feeling of closeness, you're clinging to those memories. Maybe you're clinging to the narrative of you and her together, that you have a great story, that maybe you have shared friends, those kind of things. And that's what's hurting you. There's a principle in economics, it's called the sunk cost effect, right? And the idea is that when you have committed resources to something, or you've already put time and money into something, you're likely to value it more highly because you don't want to do what you perceive as losing those resources. It's like, I put these resources in, if this relationship ends, then all those resources were wasted, right? And so you'll stay in a relationship because emotionally it feels better not to lose those resources. When what you really should do is this: ask yourself, if I were to start fresh right now, would I get into this relationship? Not, is there a history here? Not, do I fear losing the relationship? But if I were looking at it objective, looking at the factors of what it's bringing to the table for me, what it's taking away from my life, what the opportunity cost is, as I look at that holistically, would I want to be in this relationship as it is? Okay? If the answer to that is no, you should start thinking about leaving. The second question that you should ask yourself is there the potential for it to be? Right? Is there a strong potential? Because if it's close, if it's kind of like, oh, it's almost a relationship you'd get into, and it was good in the past, you could ask yourself, what was making it good that's been lost? What's changed? And can I change it back? Okay? But the fundamental thing you want to be looking at is this: the relationship is as it is. It's not how you wish it was. It's not how it used to be. It is as it is right now, right? Or as it could be based on what's already baked into the situation right now, but the past does not exist. So if you're basing your decisions on the past in terms of emotions, the past in terms of the narrative, the past in terms of the sort of like the fear of losing the identity that you've wrapped up in the relationship, that's when you're gonna start making bad decisions, all right? So ask yourself, based on the present. I would suggest actually even sit down and write this out. What are you looking for in the relationship? Is it giving that to you? And also ask yourself, if you were outside of this relationship, what are you giving up by being in this relationship? Because if you're an attractive person, and if you're someone that has a lot of things going for them, the things that you're giving up by being in a relationship are also significant, and they should be considered as well, okay? So you really want to get rid of that whole sunk cost effect. You really want to consider it in the moment, and understand this, and this is very important, right? If the relationship is bad for you, it's probably gonna end eventually. And stringing the girl along, keeping it going, is not good for her either, right? A lot of times you don't want to break up with a girl, you don't leave a relationship because you think it'll be bad for her or harmful to her, or you'll hurt her by leaving. The fact of the matter is this: the longer you stay and the longer you don't leave, the worse it's going to be when inevitably it does break down, all right? So when it is actually bad and unrecoverable, again, there's that question, can it be recovered? Can it be turned into something good? But when it is actually bad and unrecoverable, understand that by leaving, you're not only doing yourself a favor, you're doing her a favor as well, and it's very likely the right thing to do, okay? So that's when to leave. And it may sound a little cold, it may sound a little bit like logical, but that's the point, is to keep your wits about you, because a lot of times in these situations, being overly emotional is going to steer you wrong. Now, let me give you one caveat on that, which is don't be Mr. Hyper Reactive, where it's like the first time you have a fight, this relationship is shit, fuck it, chuck it, throw it out the window. Relax, all right? Do this thinking when you have a cool head. Do this thinking when you're calm and actually can be analytical. Don't take this idea of like, oh, get rid of your sunk cost as me giving you an excuse or permission to throw away a good relationship. Really do and analyze and think if it really is actually harmful, etc., before you do go down that route. Okay, let's talk on the other side. let's talk about breakups. And a breakup video is something that people have been asking me for such a long time, and I haven't done it. The reason I've never done a breakup video before is because I've never really been broken up with in a really harsh way. I had one that was kind of bad, and I had a few nights of cold sweats over it, and it was a 2.5-year relationship. But to be fair, a lot of it had been long distance, and to be fair, I had a lot of other potential options at that time. I wasn't really afraid of where it would go, and to be fair, I kind of knew we were growing apart. So even though she broke up with me, it was kind of nearly mutual. So I haven't really had the super extreme breakup that devastated me emotionally. That said, I have had a lot of relationships end, both female relationships, business relationships. I've had situations where I'm with an athletic team and we go our separate ways, etc. So I've had a lot of endings to relationships that could be very difficult and might have devastated a lot of people, right? In fact, it's possible that the breakup that I've had that's completely a nothing breakup to me, if you had that very same breakup, would be devastating to you. In fact, it's likely it would be, because the type of girls that I've had breakups with, if you got with those kind of girls, most likely you'd be like, holy shit, this is the one for me, this is the girl of my dreams, I better not lose her. And then if she broke up with you, you might be devastated. And what I'm saying there really gets at the key to handling a breakup, all right? Because there's two ways to handle it. One is have the breakup, be devastated, and then try and pick yourself back up. The other is have the breakup and already be abundant, already be sure of yourself, already know who you are, so that it's not devastating in the first place, okay? So I'm gonna give you an example. This is actually not a girl, a man, woman breakup. This is actually me breaking up with a soccer team, so to speak. So when I was in college, this is probably one of the most devastating moments of my life, all right? I was in college, I was on the college soccer team my freshman year. Between my freshman and sophomore year, I decided I was gonna be a starter, and I worked my ass off. I worked so hard that summer. I came back like the most in shape of anybody. I'd worked on my game all summer. I came into preseason, I pulled my groin the second day of preseason, had to like go through preseason injured, and I actually got cut from the team because I could barely even run, right? And I was, pretty devastated. I'd put in my whole summer, all this work. I'd also put in my life since I was like 6 years old, dreaming of being a professional soccer player. I was pretty damn fucking hurt over this, right? What did I do? First thing I did was I went and talked to the coach and figured out what I could do to get on the team for the next year to try and solve the situation, etc., right? I joined the cross country team to stay in shape. I joined a club soccer team. I started a new club soccer team at our school, did this administrative bureaucratic work to do it, put all this stuff in order to make the team the spring season. Came out for the team the spring season. The coach didn't even bother to run a tryout. He just reselected the players from before and didn't even look at me. All right, so I didn't even get an audience for a tryout for spring season. And at that point, I was like, okay, fuck this, I'm done, right? And basically at that point, I said, you know what, I'm going to transfer. I'm going to go play somewhere else, right? But look at the approach. The approach wasn't let me cry and whine and complain. I felt a little sorry for myself for a couple days because it was unfortunate I got injured. But it can happen to anybody, right? That's the nature of sports. What did I do? I tried to do anything and everything I could to take that next step, to grow. And my approach wasn't, let me beg for my spot. My approach was, how can I offer even more value? How can I be even better, right? And so I worked and worked and worked to be better. At a certain point, I went back with the idea of doing the transfer to another school. And at that point, I actually was offered a spot on the team that I had been on before. But I didn't want it because I didn't want it handed to me. I wanted it earned. I believed in the free market. I believed in offering value, and I didn't want to be like a passenger on a team. I wanted to be on the team in the right way because I had earned it, right? And to be fair, looking at my soccer career, maybe I should have just taken him up on it and stuck on that team because that team was fucking good. They went on to win a national championship that year. But that said, it was a decision that came from self-belief and self-confidence and the ability that I was offering value to them and that I could go somewhere else and offer value to somebody else if not, right? I never for a moment thought, oh, I'll never play soccer again. Like a lot of people, they get cut from their team in high school or college and that's it, they just never play again. For me, I was like, okay, well, this coach was stupid enough not to pick me. How can I either A, offer so much value that nobody could be that stupid, or B, how can I have so much value that I'll find someone smarter who will pick me and I will continue to grow? And that's the outlook that I have both in sport, in business, but also in life, which is I'm offering value. And what I'm doing, I'm gonna bring value to the table. Anyone who's in a relationship with me, again, be it sport, relationship, like sexual relationship, business, whatever it is, I'm gonna be offering value to the table. They are an idiot if they don't appreciate that. And as such, because I'm bringing value and because they're an idiot not to appreciate it, there's a zero scarcity and zero doubt in my mind that I can go find another equal or better relationship if necessary. There's also no doubt in my mind, because I'm offering value, that I would be completely fine without a relationship, right? At least for the short term. And so I think that a lot of times the reason people are devastated because of relationships, yes, you were close to that person, yes, you have a relationship and a history with that person, and that does hurt. That definitely does hurt. But I think a lot of the devastation is actually coming from fear, right? It's coming from fear of, I won't be able to find another relationship equally good, right? I think a lot of guys, if they just broke up with their girlfriend of 5 years, and then like a top Victoria's Secret model who they got along with real well asked them out the next day, I think they'd get over their girlfriend really fucking quick, right? Or whatever their particular type is, if they're into a different type of girl. If a girl of their absolute type came knocking on the door the day after their breakup, I think you'd see guys get over it a whole lot faster, which just goes to show that a lot of that devastation, a lot of that pain isn't coming because the relationship was so good, and it's not even coming as a natural must-have consequence of the relationship. It's not a necessary consequence. It's something you're doing to yourself out of fear and out of scarcity. So when you do take that attitude of offering value, that's when you're gonna be the best. And fortunately for me, unfortunately in some ways, but fortunately, I wasn't very successful with girls when I was young, right? I didn't have a lot of relationships. I didn't really get into relationships until I discovered pickup. I'd found out that I could meet an abundance of girls, and so I never really had that feeling of scarcity because I knew that I had earned the girl. I'd done my approaches, I'd gone on the dates, I'd learned the skill to earn this girl, and so I knew absolutely I had offered value and I knew I could earn another one. And I think that's why I've never truly been devastated by any relationship that I've ever gotten out of.